Okay folks, thanks very much for joining us. Today I'm going to be tying up a Foxford shrimp. So as always, just add your thread on. I always add my thread on about halfway down for this style of fly. Remove your excess. And for the tag of this, I'm going to be using medium silver oval. So just attach that underneath the shank. You don't want any bulk building up at the other side or towards the front side. Just keep it at the centre, because the fly will be tied in two different parts. And I just run my thread right down to basically where the shank ends and the hooks start to spread out. Okay, and then you just tie on your tag of a few wraps, entirely up to yourself how many you want to do. Okay, so I've done 3 here, and then I'm going to just tie it in underneath. And secure that. And again, run that up and cut it at about the halfway up the shank mark. Okay, so this is called the Foxford shrimp, but it was actually originally called the fiery brown shrimp, and you'll see why in a wee minute. So for the tail, like most Irish shrimp flies, it's going to be golden pheasant breast feather. So the way I tie that in is I expose the tip. Expose the tip, and on the way down, making use of the turns, I tie it in. Means that you've tied in a wee bit of the stalk at that earlier stage, and you get a very secure hold. And then for the stalk, I just wet my hands and I just try and turn the fibres back, and then just do a few turns. So probably for this kind of fly, if I can, I would like 3 turns. There's 1, there's 2. It's getting a bit messy. And there's 3 turns. Okay. So just securing that stalk. So we can bring that back up to the top and just keep bringing it towards that halfway point again. Cut off any of your excess. And then for the tail, you can see it's a bit of a mess. You can't pluck all this out, but I just actually take it out of the vise. Just blow up from behind. Making sure you have a nice even divide of fibres. Now use a wee bit of saliva, wet your finger, and then secure that back in again. And then as we're going down, we're going to make use of our turns, and I'm going to add in the rib, the rear body, which is again silver. I'm going to put that in underneath. I'm going to tie right down on top of the actual fibres of the tail, because I want the fibres, one, the stalk isn't the best, isn't the strongest for a golden pheasant, but I also want it to be kicked up against that tag. So then you can get a nice pulsing movement if you're twitching your flies. Okay, so just flatten this body a little bit. So for the rear of the body, so Irish shrimp flies normally in 2 parts. So the rear body is normally about 3/5 and the front body is 2/5. So the rear body for this is going to be black dubbin, whatever dubbin you want. So I'm using a more traditional dubbin, which is an absolute pain in the dub, but we'll get there. Okay, so I'm just tying a few wraps in backwards first of all, or down the shank, just so I get a good anchor, and then start making our way up. I'll grab a wee bit more dubbin. Okay, I think that'll be plenty now. And just pull all the fibres back, make sure that they're pointing now towards the rear of the hook. And then we'll come up with our rib. And you're probably wanting maybe 3 turns of this. 1, 2, 3. Secure it in, cut it off. If I had Velcro with me here, which I don't, but I'll probably do it after I finish this fly, I would tease out the Velcro underneath the rib there, so it'll all give it a bit more of an effect. Okay, so for the rear hackle or the mid hackle, it's silver badger. So I have a feather prepared here. And what I do is I expose the tip and break it off, and I put out a few fibres at the front, so creating a little V of about 5 or 6 fibres, and have the feather facing you, and I tie in at the V, pull the fibres back and tie in again, so essentially your thread is secured twice on the stalk. Then train my fibres they point inwards, and just wrap on your hackle then. Or how many turns you want to do is entirely up to yourself. So that's 1. I'll probably do about 3 here. 2. And the next time I'm finishing up, so I'm going to remove a few fibres for a neater finish. Okay. Let's try to clean up here a wee bit. Any fibres or anything going back, or going forward, just pull them back. You can neaten up that back to the hackle. Okay, then we need to add on our rib for the front of the body. Again, it's silver oval. And again, we're putting that in underneath. Okay, and then for this part of the body, it's where it gets its name, it's fiery brown. So it's a bit, yeah, mixture between red and brown. And again, I'm using this dubbin, which I kind of spoiled myself using all the synthetic dubbins recently. But we'll get there. Okay, now then we just, whatever's pointing forward, just build a wee bit of a wall to keep those back. Okay, and then we're just going to do probably two turns of the rib. Okay. And keep swiping all that back. Okay, so the next thing we're putting in our jungle cock. So I have 2 feathers prepared here. This is going in, it's typically roofed, but I usually do a wee bit offset from properly roofed, traditionally roofed. Okay. Just amend them as you feel appropriate. Okay. That looks okay there. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a wee bit of super glue. I'm going to put a wee bit of super glue on the thread and do a few wraps, and I'll give a real secure hold to that jungle cock so it never slips out. Okay. And then when that's dry, I'm just going to prepare the hackle here. So it's a ginger hackle, so it's dyed ginger. You could use red game if you wanted, or natural turn it up yourself. Again, I've broke off the tip and I've exposed a little V. Wax my thread for a better grip. This should be dry now, so we'll just remove the excess. Okay, so just the V that I've created. Just put that on, feed it up to the hook, a couple of turns, then bring the fibres back, and again, a couple of turns on top. I'll get a very secure hold. Then again, we train the fibres to point inwards. That'll really help double your hackle. So one, you see I sweep the hackle every turn. That's two. Yeah, I think three would be enough. So after the second turn, I'm going to take it back to the second turn, remove the fibres, and then finish up in the third turn. Secure that in. A few turns to secure it. Okay, before I finish up here, I'm going to just remove a few rogue fibres, try and neaten up here. I'm going to build up a head, so I'm going to use a wee bit of super glue. There's a bit of a steep drop off in my head at the moment, so this is a good way to stop your thread slipping. Let's build up the head with wet super glue thread. Okay, and that's all I need to do is just quick finish. Another wee rogue fibre. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I think should do that. And that's your Foxford shrimp or fried brown shrimp, folks. As always, if you found this useful, let us know. The best way to do that is drop us a wee comment below, or hit the like button below, give us the thumbs up. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help the channel grow. And until next time, thanks very much.